Hi, I'm Robin from Wholesale Shade, and today we're going to review hip canopies. We're going to talk about how to take it down quickly. If a storm's coming through, you need to take it down before it gets destroyed. We're going to talk about how to do that. We're going to talk about how to measure for a new fabric canopy to replace a damaged one. And we're going to talk about how to install that hip canopy. So follow along today as we go through hip canopies. First thing we're going to do is we're going to walk around, we're going to inspect the sail, we're going to take some notes to aid us in the takedown and reinstall process. So we're going to inspect each corner, and then we're going to go around and we're going to take notes on how each corner looks so that when we're reinstalling the new shade sail, everything goes very smoothly. So I've just arrived here at the job site. The hurricane is coming tomorrow. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to walk around and I'm going to inspect the sail and check out the access. I can see here that we've got this fence, so it looks kind of limited. So I'm going to walk down here and see what we've got going on first. So I got a little bit of access here, enough room to put a ladder, but not a lot of room to maneuver. So this is probably going to be my hardest corner to install. So we're going to take note of that for later. I made a little sketch of the sail, and I'm going to make a note, hard corner. We're going to walk around this way. This corner is also a little bit obstructed with this fence here, but it's not too bad. We have a little more room on this side, so that's all right. Let's go check out the other side. All right, we've got a lot of room around this corner here, lots of room to work, lots of access. This corner has some extra fencing on it here, so I know I can access behind this fabric here, or I can put a ladder in front. We've got a little bit of access here. I'm going to take some notes. All right, so my initial notes, rough shape of the sail. I wrote down the street and the fence to orient myself here. I've noted this back corner is the hard corner, and this front corner here is the easy corner. I went ahead and labeled that A, and then I went clockwise. I went A, B, C, and D. We're going to use those notes later on so we know exactly which corner goes where. We're going to review the materials that you need to install a hip canopy. Now, as you can see by what I've got here laid out on the table, it's a lot of materials. It's probably going to take you a long time. In fact, this video is probably going to be about an hour long, so I hope you're ready. Just kidding. Look at this. There's what, 6, 7 items here? It's really not that bad. We don't need a lot of materials. A lot of these things you can easily get from a local hardware store, and the install is actually pretty easy. It's easier than you think. So let's go through these materials real quick. You're going to need some good strong rope that you can get from, again, Lowe's, Home Depot, local hardware store. You want 2 long pieces. You need 2 come-alongs. You need some measuring tape for when you're measuring for your replacement hip canopy. Both types are good to have, and depending on your needs for the day. You're going to need a socket wrench. We're going to use those to loosen or tighten your cable clamps here. And lastly, we have this handy tool. This is actually a bricklaying tool, but this is going to help you get the corner over the pin. And we're going to go over that together here in a bit when we do the install. But as you can see here, very minimal materials that you need to get started. It's easier than you think. Let's get to it. All right, I'm up here. We're going to start with this corner first. So the first step is to remove the cable clamps. After we remove the cable clamps, we're going to pull the cable loose. The loose ends of the cable, we're going to pull it out. And then we're going to use the rope, and we're going to attach this pull tab here so that we can remove this corner. Now, we're going to see how fast I can do this. And believe it or not, this is my actually first time hands-on doing one of these by myself. I know how to do this in theory, but it's easy enough. I can do it. You can do it. Let's do it together. It is 11:08 right now. We're going to see how long this takes me. Let's go. I feel like I'm pulling it the wrong way. I hit the thing. Yep. There we go. Right, this is the last. On the last one. All right, clamps are out. Cable, I can loosen the cable, so I'm just tugging on this. This one's loose, so this is the one I'm gonna start pulling out here. And then we're gonna tug on this side gently. There we go. Cables are loose. And then we're going to feed the rope through the pull tab here. We'll move down a step so my partner Patrick can help me pull. Oh. Oh. A little bit more, a little bit more. We're just trying to get the corner off the pin. Get down out of the way. There we go. And the corner's off the pin, so I'm gonna go up and take down this rope. All right, and first corner is off. It is 11:14, 6 minutes.
All right, let's get the rest.
There are no more cable clamps to deal with. Cable is loose. Ah.
What happened there?
So if you can see here, whoever installed this, instead of putting the hole in the corner of the fabric through the pin, they put the pull tab through the pin here. So now I can't use this pull tab to attach the rope to pull this off and loosen this corner. So we are going to go to a different corner and loosen that corner first so we can come back to this and we'll have an easier time pulling this one off.
So this is how the corner is supposed to be.
Yeah, this is how the corner is supposed to look, with the hole in the corner of the fabric over the pin and the pull tab loose so that we can access that and use that. So I'm just going to loosen this cable a little bit, give us a little bit of extra flexibility. I can't do this by hand, so we're going to feed the rope through. All right, and have my handy dandy helper.
All right. Stay out of the way.
A little bit, there we go. And I'm going to say, since we're already on this side of the structure, let's go to this back corner and loosen this back one. There we go. Easy peasy. All right, we are back to the difficult corner here. Now I can tug on the fabric, loosen it up, and move that pull tab off the pin. Now we're ready to pull the fabric, slide it off. We're gonna, because there's no room on this side, we're gonna slide the fabric that way where we have more room. All right, so that sail is off and it is only 11:21. Super fast takedown. even for a first timer like me. High five. It was 11:21 when we finished taking down the sail. All that's left is to fold it up and store it so that it can be safely secured for the winter, the storm, however long it is until we're going to put it back up. You may have noticed I had a few points of struggle with the ratchet, but you know what? It was my first time, and I think that went really smoothly for a first timer like me, so you're going to be able to do this really quickly. All right, we're going to fold up this shade sail for you so that we can store it. So we're going to start here. So some tips for you when you're storing your shade sail. Rats and mice like to use this fabric for their nests, so you want to store it in something secure like a rubber bin with a lid so that the mice don't get to it. It's going to stay nice and protected throughout the winter. Make sure that you store it dry. If it's wet, it can get moldy. You don't want to get moldy over the winter when you rehang it. If you're looking to get into the shade industry, it's easier than you think. And one great way to do it is by replacing hip canopies. There are thousands and thousands of these structures across the United States. And the steel frame is going to last a really long time, but the fabric needs to be replaced every 10 to 15 years or so. And unfortunately, we also have incidents of vandalism, storm damage. There's a lot of opportunity to go in and replace these canopies. So you can go in, drive around your neighborhood, check out the local parks, and drop off your card at the school, the city, say, hey, I can get you a quote to replace this fabric for you. It's going to extend the life of your park, your playground, your community is going to be enhanced, and you're going to get into the shade industry super easy. All right, today we're going to take measurements to order a new replacement hip canopy for this frame here. So I'm going to walk you through what you need. It is easier than you think. Trust me, if I can do it, you can do it. So what you need when you're measuring and ordering for a hip canopy is you need the pin-to-pin perimeter measurements, and then we need the pin to ground height, and then we need the ridge to ground height. And the rest we're going to take care of here in the shop when we manufacture it for you. So remember, it's easier than you think. Let's get to it. So we're going to loop that on there. Whoops. We're going to loop that on there. So we're going to make sure we pulled our string nice and tight here, and we're going to measure right to the inside where the pin meets the frame here. This is where the fabric is going to hit. We want, for hip canopies, we want to know where the fabric hits. So that measurement is 30 feet and 1 inch. And before I try to take another measurement, I'm going to get down off this ladder and I'm going to write this measurement down. It's 30 feet and 1 inch. And I've got my notes ready here. I've already drawn out my structure, and this is my corner A. This is the easy corner, so I have that noted on the form here. And I know that I've already labeled as corner D, so my D to A measurement is 30 feet and 1 inch. And now I don't have to try to keep that number in my head. I can keep going around, writing down, and I won't get anything mixed up. We're gonna go on to the next corner. All right, and remember, we're going nice and tight, and we are measuring to where the pin meets the frame. So this distance here is 20 feet and 2 inches, 20 feet, 2 inches, and I'm gonna go write that down on our piece of paper right now. All right, that was the D to C measurement, and it is 20 feet and 2 inches. All right, we keep going. We took a second, we moved our ladders over so that now they're on this B to C side of the structure. So I'm gonna go up and hook up to this pin here. And this distance is 30 feet and 2.5 inches. 30 feet and 2.5 inches. And I brought my pad of paper over here so I could write that down. 30 feet and 2.5 inches. And then we need to gather the last perimeter measurement. We're gonna move the ladders again. All right, we're going up for our last perimeter measurement here. This is the D to A measurement. One thing I want to show you is that when you're using just this simple loop on your tape, if you're not pulling properly, if the tape isn't under tension, your loop's going to pop right off and you're going to be a little bit frustrated. So I'm going to show you, you want to keep the tension on your tape while you're hooking it up there so the loop doesn't come undone, especially if you're doing this by yourself. All right, so we're going to loop this on here. I'm going to pull it in this, we're going to walk in this direction, so I'm using this hand to keep the tension on it so it stays on the pin. If I don't and I just go like this, well, there's stuff in the way. But you risk it coming undone, just like that. So we're going to go up, we're going to keep the tension on the loop. Keeping it nice and tight, keep the tension on there. And we're going up. And this measurement here is 20 feet, 2.5 inches. Remember, we're going right where the pin and the frame meet. 20 feet, 2.5 inches. And I'm going to write that measurement down right away so I don't forget it. And we have our perimeter. Now, one thing to note, this measuring tape here, that handy loop, that's about an extra inch. So I need to make sure I add that to my measurements. So all of these are an additional inch. So I'm going to write 30 feet, 2 inches, 20 feet, 3 inches, 30 feet, 3.5, and 20 feet, 3.5. That way you can make sure that when you order your fabric, it fits nice and tight. So the next thing you need, aside from the perimeter measurements for your hip canopy, is you need the heights. And we need the pin to ground height, and we need the height on the ridge. Now, if you have a helper, like I do today, you can use this kind of tape to do that. So you have to have someone hold the measurement or the tape up by the pin, and we're going to measure down to the ground. And the height here is 8 feet, 10.5 inches. Thank you. And I'm going to write that down before I forget. Eight feet, 10.5. But remember, we do have to add an inch to account for the hook. So we're going to add, so it's 8 feet, 11.5. All right, so if you don't have a helper, you're going to use your standard measuring tape here. And you're going to measure up to the pin. And we have 8 feet and 11.5 inches. And we're going to write that down before we forget. All right, so we're going to take the ridge height now. And so I'm going to try to do this without getting up on a ladder. I'm going to use a measuring tape here. And we're going to try to measure from the ground up to the top of the ridge. We'll see if I can do it. We got a little bit of wind here today. I think I need new glasses. I can't read the numbers.
13.2.
13.2. All right. Thank you, helper. So 13 feet, 2 inches. We don't have to be exact. We can be within about an inch on these. It doesn't have to be super exact. There's a lot of flexibility and give with the hip canopy fabric. So we'll go write that down before we forget. But remember, when you're measuring for a hip canopy, you need pin-to-pin perimeter measurements, and you need the height from pin to ground and ridge to ground. And that's so that we can tell, really, the height that we're concerned about is between the pin and the ridge, and making sure that the fabric can stretch over whatever that height difference is. But we're going to take care of that for you. You give us your measurements, and we make it easy. Now, you might be installing a brand new canopy or reinstalling one that you took down before a storm or before the winter snow hit. In our case, we're reinstalling this canopy here that we keep up on our in our yard here over these containers, keep these containers cool. The first thing you want to do is you want to lay the sail out and make sure that your corners are labeled in the right spot so that the hip canopy goes up in proper alignment. As you're walking up to the job site, you're going to want to take a second and inspect the area, check out where you have room. You're probably going to be at a park or a playground with a hip canopy where you're going to have lots of space around you to work, to move, to put equipment. As you can see here, we are a little bit limited on our space. We have these containers here that are a little bit in our way. Normally, what you would do when you're installing a hip canopy is you would tie 2 strong ropes to the corner of your sail, as you can see that we have here. You'd throw the ropes over the ridge, and you'd have 2 people on the other side pulling the ropes to bring the fabric up and over the ridge. What we have here, with these containers in the way, is we run into the risk of the fabric dragging across the edges of the containers and causing a tear, a rip, a hole, or some other kind of damage. We want to avoid that. So in this situation, we're going to modify a little bit. So we have a gap between the containers. So we're going to utilize this gap. So what we're going to do is we're still going to take our ropes. We're going to throw the 2 ropes over the ridge and drag the fabric up and over. But it's going to be all bunched up together in one spot so that it doesn't drag on the containers. Then we're going to have to climb up on top of the containers, utilize those so that we can stand up there and spread the fabric out accordingly, so then we can come down, get on the ladders, and secure each corner. All right, I'm going to attempt to throw this rope up and over the ridge here. We'll see how I do. Woo. All right, I'm going to throw this rope up over the ridge. Let's see if I can do it. First try. Yeah. There we go. 4th time's a charm. You just saw me use this bricklaying tool to help me get the last corner in place. Now, you saw Patrick, my helper, use it on that corner over there because that one was kind of tricky for us. There was some stuff in the way. We weren't able to pull it very tight, just with the angle where we were at. So we needed a little extra muscle, a little bit of Patrick's extra skill to get that one installed. This one, we had a little bit more room to pull at a great angle with the rope. We had some equipment in place to get it nice and tight, good strong pull. We used the come along, so it was very easy. This tool became so much easier when I realized it's really just a guide. So what you're really utilizing here is the strength of the rope, the pull from the come along to line the fabric up in place. And then all you're doing is letting the tool guide it to the right spot. And then you just ease up on the tension and the fabric will slide right in. It's perfect, it fits easy, it's easier than you think. We're ready to do the last step of this hip canopy install, which is to tighten down the cable and clamp it down with the cable clamps. Now, this is a reinstall for us, so we're reusing the cable that we used before. As you can see though, this sail's been up for 10, 12 years. There's kinks in the cable from the various times that we have clamped this down. It's been up and down a couple of times and there's got some kinks in it. So you can reuse this cable, it's not a problem. It is going to make it a little bit difficult as we feed it back into the pocket to straighten that out and get that in there efficiently. If it's a new sail, you're going to have brand new cable, not a problem. If you're reinstalling a sail, you may want to consider selling new cable with the sail. I've got the next part set up and ready to go, so I want to walk you through what we did and how we set this up. So the first thing that we did is we took the cables and we crossed them over each other. And we used 2 of the clamps, 1 on each side. Those are loosely tightened to just hold those in place as they're crossed. And now we're going to use the come-alongs and the ropes to tighten everything up. So if you join us over here, we'll take a look. So we utilize the frame to give us some extra support, and we tied a rope here around here. If you tie the rope up on the part of the ridge, then it'll tend to slide up and over, and then you're going to lose your place. So tie it to the post of the frame so it won't go anywhere on you. And then you can see here we're tied to our come along here so that we can get some good tension on these, and we're going to pull across. We used our 3rd of the 4th cable clamp here to help create a loop for us to pull on. Again, this isn't too tight, but you want to make sure it's tight enough, it's snug enough so that it doesn't slip loose. But you can't crank it because you do need to take this off and reuse it later. Once again, where cables are crossed over here, and we have another loop here with a snug but not too tight cable clamp, creating that loop for our come along, which is tied to this rope here. And lastly, we're using this post over here to secure the rope. So now we're going to be able to tighten our come-alongs. The ropes and the posts will do their job, hold everything in place, and we're going to get this cable nice and tight for this hip canopy. One thing we noticed as we were kind of going around and inspecting all the corners here, we noticed that when we were pulling on the cable, it pulled this pull tab over a little bit. And this is just a little extra care that you can provide your customer. If we center this back towards the center of the pole here, get it more centered under the cable, it's going to prevent the cable from rubbing on the powder coat on your frame, and it's going to look nicer in the long run. There we go. Now that our setup is in place, we can go ahead and tighten this cable. And so what we're going to do is we're going to tighten a little bit on one side, go to the other, tighten a little bit more. You want it to be even as you're tightening this cable. So we're going to just start and do a few pumps in the come along, go around and do the next one. So as you can see, we'll keep going, but I can do this by myself. But it might be a little bit easier if you have a helper. So I'm going to bring in my helper, Patrick. We're going to get this done. And I'm not tall enough, so I need to move this ladder so I can reach the come along. Woo! Mine got loose. I don't know what I did. Oh, did this loosen? I think the rope might have slipped. Because I feel like that was longer when you... You might be asking yourself, how do I know when my shade sail is tight enough? It's a great question. So you're going to want to make sure that the fabric is really tight. I can still move that cable a little bit by pushing on. I'm not pushing on it very hard. So that means we can get a little tighter with this. And you want to make sure the cables are really starting to pull. You'll see when they get nice and tight over here.
Yeah, hold on. The cable's slipping. Clamp is slipping.
The clamp, oh, this one?
Yeah. Give that a little
Thank you
more
for catching that.
tight. In fact, we're almost there, so just like 2 more clicks.
You think that's good? All right.
Rolling?
We're rolling.
This
think.
is behind the scenes. You can edit.
Yeah, we'll edit. All right. So our sail is nice and tight, and we're ready to clamp down these cables. So we had these ones up here before. So we're just going to tighten these down because they were loosely done. And then we're going to add 2 more clamps. So you're going to get 4 total on your hip canopy. Whoa. Pro tip, get yourself a nice pair of gloves, or they don't even have to be super heavy duty. These are just basic work gloves here. When I was tightening the cable clamps, my hand slipped and my knuckles ran right across the cable. And without the gloves, I probably would have had needing a Band-Aid, but as you can see, totally fine. Stay safe. All right, my 4 cable clamps are on either side of the post here on our cable corner. And we're gonna undo the come-alongs now, and then last step is gonna be to tuck the cable, loose cable back into the edge of the fabric. Ta-da! It's easier than you think. That's it for our hip canopy takedown, measure, and install video. I hope you learned something today. More importantly, I hope you learned how easy it is. It's about $300 in tools. I took it down in less than 15 minutes. Putting it back up, you can do by yourself. It's a little faster if you have a partner, but it's an easy thing for you to do. It's an easy way to get into the shade sail business. There's lots of opportunity to recover these hip canopies all across the US. And if you need some help, give us a call at Wholesale Shade. We're here for you. Thanks for watching.